Free thinker here. Today's video will explore whether silence can help us mend a failing relationship. Let's discover the surprising truth about the power of silence. You might gain insights to help you heal and reconnect in ways you never imagined. Communication breakdown. One of the most common reasons relationships fail is communication breakdown, when we stop listening to each other or communicating effectively. Misunderstandings and resentments can quickly build up. Over time, these minor issues can snowball, creating a rift that feels impossible to bridge. Silence in these situations can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it allows us to reflect, recharge, and regain perspective. But on the other hand, it can lead to emotional distance, making reconnecting even harder. It creates a void of doubt and insecurity, where unspoken words and unresolved issues fester. As the Stoics remind us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. This wisdom highlights the importance of active listening and communication in maintaining strong relationships. Without it, unspoken words build up, creating a barrier that becomes increasingly difficult to overcome, ultimately leaving us feeling more isolated than ever. Welcome back to the channel. Please subscribe, like, and share for more content. Emotional distance. Another issue that often leads to relationship breakdown is emotional distance. Whenever we are no longer on the same page, or no longer feel seen or heard by our significant other, it's like we're drifting apart. Silence can exacerbate these issues, turning minor misunderstandings into significant emotional chasms. We start to feel like we're not good enough, or that our partner no longer cares about us. This sense of being unimportant or neglected can deepen the emotional rift, making reconnecting increasingly tricky. Before we know it, the emotional distance becomes a gaping hole that's hard to fill. As the Stoics teach, it is not the things themselves that disturb men, but their judgment about these things. This wisdom reminds us that our perception and interpretation of silence can often do more harm than silence itself. If we interpret silence as rejection or indifference, we allow it to create walls between us. Eventually, it feels like we're living parallel lives instead of sharing one. Emotional distance makes it challenging to bridge the gap, and we find ourselves yearning for the closeness that we once had. Understanding and addressing the root causes of this distance can help us find our way back to each other. Exhaustion and recharging. Then there are moments we're utterly exhausted and desperately need time to recharge. Maybe we've been arguing nonstop, or perhaps we're just feeling drained from the relentless demands of daily life. In this situation, silence can be a welcome respite, a chance to step back, reflect, and come back stronger. It's a necessary pause that allows us to find clarity and balance. As the Stoics wisely advised, no man is free who is not master of himself. Taking time for silence is about mastering our inner turmoil, regaining control, and finding peace within ourselves. Sometimes all it takes to hit the reset button is a quiet walk in the park or a solo coffee break at our favorite coffee spot. It's not about avoiding each other, but about giving ourselves the space to breathe and to process our emotions and thoughts. We can reconnect with a fresh perspective and renewed energy by taking that time. And honestly, sometimes we need a moment of peace without drama, a quiet sanctuary where we can be alone. Expert advice. So, when does silence become beneficial and when does it become harmful? Let's dive into some expert opinions and gain a deeper understanding. Dr. John Gottman, a renowned relationship researcher, emphasizes that taking a break and practicing self-care during conflict can be incredibly helpful. He highlights that the brief period of silence allows us to calm down, reflect, and return to the conversation with a clearer mind and reduced emotional reactivity. This pause can prevent escalation and foster more constructive communication. On the other hand, Dr. Brené Brown, an expert on vulnerability and empathy, cautions that silence can sometimes become a form of disconnection. When we use silence to avoid dealing with our emotions and fears, it can lead to a deeper issue and emotional distance. She suggests that while taking a break is important, addressing and articulating our feelings is equally crucial. Additionally, psychologist Dr. Harville Hendricks offers another perspective, suggesting that silence can be a powerful tool for deep listening. He believes that purposeful silence in a relationship can create a safe space for our partners to express themselves more fully, fostering greater understanding and intimacy. Understanding the fine line between these perspectives helps us navigate our relationships more effectively. Silence can be a blessing and a barrier. It's all about how and when we use it. Harnessing its power wisely can lead to healthier, more resilient connections. Story time. I can still remember that tough breakup like it was yesterday. My ex suggested we take a break and give each other some space. At first, I welcomed the silence. It felt like a chance to process my emotions and think things through. I thought this silence could clarify and help us understand what we needed. But as the days turned into weeks, that silence felt like an unbearable weight hanging over me. It didn't bring clarity. It just made the distance between us more apparent. One day, I decided enough was enough. I reached out, and we finally had that long overdue conversation. We realized that our paths were leading in different directions. Despite the pain, we knew it was time to part ways. In that moment of clearness, I understood something profound. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to let go and embrace new beginnings. As the Stoics teach us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That difficult decision, as challenging as it was, became the path to new possibilities and growth. Letting go was not just an ending, but also a beginning of self-discovery and new opportunities. And you know what? As tough as it was, that decision opened a world of possibilities and led me to a place of greater understanding and peace. The turning point. So, what's the turning point regarding silence in relationships? For me, it's about setting boundaries and taking responsibility for our own emotions. When we set boundaries, we're not trying to control our significant other, but instead taking care of ourselves. We're saying, hey, I need some space, and I need to figure some things out. This isn't about pushing our partners away, but creating a healthy distance to process our thoughts and emotions. When we take responsibility for our emotions, we don't blame our significant other, but rather admit to our fears and doubts. The Stoics remind us, he who does not know what the world is does not know where he is. This self-awareness and honesty are the key to making any relationship work. And it all starts with understanding our needs and emotions. We foster a healthier relationship dynamic by recognizing our limits and expressing our needs clearly. It allows us to reconnect with our partners from a place of clarity and mutual respect. Doing so ensures that silence is constructive rather than destructive. Making it work. Ultimately, the key to making silence work in relationships is not avoiding conflict, but using it as a tool for growth. When we take time to reflect, recharge, and communicate effectively, we can become more assertive, more empathetic, and more understanding. Silence can be a powerful catalyst for change, but we must use it wisely. It's all about balance and understanding each other's needs. As the Stoics remind us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. This wisdom can guide us in harnessing the power of silence to hear and understand our partner truly. Taking moments of silence does not mean creating emotional distance. It means giving ourselves and our significant other space to process, grow, and come back to the conversation with clarity and compassion. We can reconnect with a fresh perspective and renewed energy by taking that time. And honestly, sometimes we just need a moment of peace without any drama. These quiet moments allows us to reset and appreciate the importance of our connection. Embracing silence mindfully can transform it from a barrier into a bridge that brings us closer together. What have we learned? So what have we learned from today's discussion? Today, we have explored the profound role silence can play in relationships when used constructively. We've learned that silence could give us valuable time to reflect, recharge, and gain clarity. As the Stoics remind us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Silence can help us listen more deeply, understand our partners better, and approach conflicts calmly. However, balancing silence with open communication is crucial to prevent emotional distance. Setting healthy boundaries, taking responsibility for our emotions, and using silence mindfully, we can transform it from a barrier into a bridge that strengthens our connections. In essence, when used wisely, silence can be a powerful tool for growth and deeper intimacy in relationships. If you've gone through heartbreak and have a story to share, please leave it in the comments section below. It's incredible how much we can learn from each other and find how much comfort we can find in knowing we're not alone. And if you're new here, consider checking out one of my other videos on resilience and self-confidence. Free thinker out.